I was sitting at home in Savannah, Georgia with YouTube on my TV. I like to watch YouTube on the big TV. And I was watching these vloggers, and a lot of them were from Dumaguete. And I remember thinking, man, what's the deal with this city? Why is it so cool? But I'm gonna try to talk over this wind. Good morning, YouTube. It is almost dawn. It's almost 6 a.m. here in Dumaguete, and I thought I would go for a walk on our beautiful boulevard here in town. It's really windy this morning, so I'm going to try to talk, and hopefully you can hear me over the wind. Today's video is one that I thought some of my viewers would want to watch, and that's because it's going to be the quick and brief story, I promise. Brief story about why I chose Dumaguete as the city that I want to live in the Philippines. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you already know that I grew up in the Philippines. I was here as a kid, as a young man, and I visited a lot of different cities. I've visited all over the country. And I lived in Manila, different places in Luzon. And when I finally came back to try and live in what I call my semi-retirement state, I really could have chose anywhere to live. But why did I choose Dumaguete specifically? So yeah, going back to probably the summer of 2022, this was when I finally really had that moment in my life. I described in another video as what I call a midlife crisis, but I had that moment in my life where I was thinking, I want to live here in the Philippines. I want to be here. And I started visiting, that summer I started visiting different islands, places that I'd never been to before. And I made a list, and on that list was a couple of cool places that I wanted to see. And Dumaguete was actually the last place on the list. But I put it on there because of YouTube. That's really why I did it. There were other vloggers that I was watching. Some of them I got to meet later. Some of them are friends of mine now, today. I was sitting at home in Savannah, Georgia with YouTube on my TV. I like to watch YouTube on the big TV. And I was watching these vloggers, and a lot of them were from Dumaguete. And I remember thinking, man, what's the deal with this city? Why is it so cool? But I won't go into all the reasons that they all got here, because you can watch their channels and find out. But I added it to my list because of those vloggers, so that's why it was on the list. And I came out in that summer, 2022, and I visited a couple different places. I visited Bohol, which I really liked. I liked Bohol. I liked Panglao, Tagbilaran, the diving there, all the cliche touristy things, the chocolate hills, the tertiary. That was on my list. If I could make like a top 5 places that I really, really loved, Bohol is in the top 5 for sure. And who knows, maybe in a parallel universe, I live in Bohol. I visited places of my roots. I visited Mindoro, places that we used to go on vacation when we were a family, to the beach. Mindoro is an island south of Batangas, and visited there. They speak more Tagalog in those areas, so I was able to really flex my Tagalog more than usual. I visited Batangas. Anyway, so eventually I landed in Dumaguete, and I remember it was at the end of my visit here that summer, and I thought, okay, on the way out, before I leave, I'm just going to give this place a look over and check it out. There were just a couple things that jumped out at me right away. And you're probably going to think I'm biased because I live here now, and obviously I decided to live here, but I'll try to take myself back into the frame of mind I was in when I actually just first landed here and was discovering the city. First of all, it's it's more provincial and old-fashioned. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like it's not modern in the sense of skyscrapers and bustling city like you see in Cebu or other big cities around here. It's got that smaller provincial feel and vibe, and I immediately thought back to the time I was in Batangas in the 1980s, and it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Again, I'm not disparaging the city of Dumaguete or saying that they're not growing or they're not a modern city. It's beautiful, and it is growing now, and it's doing great. Actually, I'm walking on an expanded part of the boulevard right now. It's a new project that's not even done yet. They're bringing out the seawall and bringing out the walkway, the brickway here for the people to enjoy. So it's constantly improving, constantly growing, but it's not so big that it even has traffic lights. It does not have traffic lights, not yet. Actually, in the last year, they just came up with a proposal for what they call stoplights or traffic lights here in Dumaguete, and that's a sign of, the city growing and realizing that they have traffic and they've got to deal with that traffic and deal with the people and the growing amount of cars. But it still has, for me, that provincial feel. So I really like that. It has really good restaurants. The part of the boulevard that I'm walking on right now is almost right across from the hotel and bar called Honeycomb, and a little bit further up from there is the Why Not, which is a kind of a combination of a lot of things, but primarily I like it for the restaurant there. It's like a Swiss chalet theme, and that's been here for years and years. There's a whole bunch of nice restaurants and little bars and stuff lined up here on the boulevard, and there's more always opening. So that was cool. The restaurants were cool. And then eventually I had to get in the water, and I discovered that the scuba diving was good here. I'm a diver, and I love diving, and I love the ocean. And they have Apo Island here. They have reefs. I mean, what we call the house reef in a resort. And it's beautiful stuff, right just off the water. Turtles and beautiful coral reefs and tropical fish. And I'll probably do another video just all about my time in the Philippines when I fell in love with the ocean, because I was a city kid originally. So anyway, I won't get into it right now. I want to save that for another video. But the ocean here is beautiful, and it's clean, and you don't always get that in other cities. But Dumaguete, especially the Darwin area, has really good snorkeling and really good scuba diving. Oh, the sun has popped up. Check this, guys. All right, there it is. Sunrise in Dumaguete. Isn't it beautiful? We did it. All right, I'm gonna turn around and go back the way I came and continue blabbing, because I'm pretty good at that. Okay, the next thing that I kind of fell in love with about this city was its history. And yes, I'm a confessed history nerd. I like history, and of course I love World War II history. It has a special place in my heart, going all the way back to my days in Batangas when I was a kid. Back in the 80s, World War II was only 4 decades old at that point. So it was very fresh in people's minds, and so it's kind of like something that was impressed on me, I guess you could say. And when I came to Dumaguete, I found this really cool museum in Valencia called the Cataal World War II Museum, and I met Felix Cataal, and he was such a cool guy. Man, I gotta show the sunrise one more time. It is just so beautiful. It's like, how can I not film this? Felix Cataal runs this museum up in Valencia, and he just knows everything about the history of World War II here, and he can defuse munitions. I mean, he's just an amazing guy. And when I found that museum and I heard about some of the stories of things that happened here with the airfield, and there's remains of a Japanese plane right in the runway and the water behind me. And up in the mountains, up in Valencia near Mount Talinis, there's Japanese caves that are still there. And I was like, oh cool, it's got that going on for it too, you know. I remember being very excited about that. So that was like an emotional connection for me, you know. And actually that's a good point to bring up why we choose places that we want to live, is you can't deny that some kind of connection has to take place, right? Where you kind of say, oh, I think this is the place for me. And oftentimes it's an emotional connection, right? It's an emotional reason. And gosh, there's a whole psychology around why we make decisions. And this is why people who are in sales know how to capitalize on this stuff. When you fall in love with a car that you want to buy, you know, there might be an emotional connection. Oh, this is the car, reminds me of the car that I had when my dad and I were working on cars, whatever. You get the point. So that World War II aspect kind of rang true. And then I guess the last one would be, or almost the last point would be, the amount of nature that's here. And you don't have to go very far at all. I already mentioned the ocean, the diving, but when you go the other direction, you go up into the mountains, you get beautiful waterfalls and springs, hot springs, cold springs, nature, hiking, trails. I even joined a German hiking club. Well, it's led by a German guy, briefly here in town, and would go hiking with them sometimes. And sometimes they just like to get lost and find their way back to civilization. Oh man, this is beautiful. I got to turn around again one more time, guys, and show you this. Like just the other day, I was at this place called Forest Camp, and Forest Camp, I can't even begin to describe it, guys. You just have to check it out. Maybe I'll do a separate video that's more like a vlog where I talk all about Forest Camp, but it's just this beautiful, relaxing, peaceful spot in nature up in the mountains in Valencia, and it has freshwater springs that you can swim in, and they've built up little pools, and pools feed into pools, and there's waterfalls, and it's just gorgeous. I'll try to show a couple pictures in the video too, just for fun. Okay, and then lastly, and this is a compliment to any foreigners who are watching this. When I say foreigners, I mean guys like me, is the expat community. It's not just all Filipinos, and I love Filipinos, and I try to make more friends with Filipinos, but there's a strong expat community here of folks that are retired and just enjoying life. And I got to meet a lot of these people, and many of them are my friends. And now that my girlfriend's here, and we just kind of made this city a home, we enjoy going out for dinner with friends, and a lot of them are foreigners, and they're from different countries too. They're not just from the US like me. They're from different places all around the world, and there's more and more coming here every day, which again is kind of why I'm making this video, to talk about why I chose this place. But that's probably the list of the short list rather of why I chose Dumaguete. Now that I've been here, I can tell you that it's not a perfect place. I will definitely not try to sugarcoat it and say, oh, this is the best place ever, you got to come out here and check this out. No, it's the city that I chose, and it's the city that I really, really love being in. I just thought of one more thing to add. It's got the airport, and it has flights that go to Manila all the time. And then they're supposed to be building in the near future another airport in the Bacong area. And that's supposed to be an international airport. I've seen some like drawings and some artist renderings of what it should look like, and to me that's kind of exciting. It's probably years away yet still, but they're working on it. They're working on the roads right now as I record this video. So my girlfriend moved here. She came all the way from Quezon City, and she came to Dumaguete, and then we ended up adopting our pet cat Higgy, which I made a video about, and we just like it here. We love it here actually, and we love our life, and we wouldn't want to move somewhere else unless for some reason it was just a really, really important, strong reason to do that, like work or something. But we're supposed to be retired, so anyway, is it a perfect place? No, it is not a perfect place. There's no place that's really perfect, and I will not try to, again, sugarcoat this and say that everything's amazing here, you should come here. It's going to be subjective, guys, and hopefully that's what you're hearing in other videos. If you're looking up top 10 reasons to move to Dumaguete or something like that. In fact, I should point out that there's been other vloggers who have actually left Dumaguete, some, fairly recently, and it's not because they just hated it here. They just wanted to do something different and go somewhere else, and they had their personal reasons, So yeah, I'm aware of things like traffic increasing and dust and noise and stuff like that, but I mean, it's the Philippines, guys. It's going to be everywhere, and you're going to encounter it. And so if you want to find the perfect place, it's probably out there, but it's going to be your perfect place, right? It's going to be subjective. I met a guy who moved here recently. He's Canadian, and he's out way in Zamboanguita, and it's a lot more quiet, and it's about 30-ish minutes away from Dumaguete, and he loves it out there. He says he wakes up and he sees Apple Island in his window, when he looks out the window. So it's subjective, guys. It's you've found your slice of paradise, and it may be Dumaguete, it may not be Dumaguete, but that's just a little bit about why I chose this city and why I continue to live here and why I love it here. And hopefully you found this interesting. I would love to hear, this is a big topic, in fact, if anything, this is probably one of the first stories that I've told where it's not about me growing up here. It's one of those about me being here now. But I would love to hear in the comment section why you may have chosen Dumaguete, or why you might be considering Dumaguete as your home, because it's very interesting to me why different people come here. I'll close it out with another quick story just because I'm feeling very blabby this morning. I was sitting in a bar restaurant here in town, and there was a guy who kind of got my attention. I turned around actually to get up to use the restroom, and he said, "Hey man, can I talk to you?" Older guy, probably 60s, maybe early 70s, and he started asking me questions about Dumaguete and why I liked it here, and what brought me here, and this and that. And I realized in that moment that he was weighing his decision of whether to pull the trigger to come here or not. And I thought it was really interesting that he was in that exact place of mind. He was like in an in-between point. And I didn't really try to sway him either way. I was just talking to him, and he was saying things like, I got a lot of motorcycles back home in the States. I'd have to get rid of those if I came out here. He was just thinking through all the steps he would have to do in order to relocate here and make a go of it. But anyway, I'll never know what decision he made because he got up and left. I came back from the restroom and he was gone. So I've always wondered, hey, what happened to that guy? But anyway, if you're out there and you're considering coming to Dumaguete, I can tell you for one, because I'm biased, that I love it here. So leave a comment below if you are considering moving here. I would like to know why, and or if you want to come visit here too. I'd like to hear that as well. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I've been talking way more than I usually do, but hopefully you had fun listening to this video and hearing a little bit about why I like Dumaguete and why I chose to live here. As always, feel free to leave a like and consider subscribing if you'd like to hear more stories about life in the Philippines. I'm always thinking of new memories, new things that happened to me when I was growing up, especially when I was a kid, and they're really fun to tell. So stick around and I'll be sharing more stories like that. Meantime, I will say goodbye for now. Mabuhay, and let me show you this beautiful sunrise one more time.